Please recognize Representative Dorman for his farewell message.
Representative Dorman, you're recognized.
Thank you, members. We also have to thank David Walters for this stool down here for all the guys like me that can see eye to eye. I hope I don't do my best John Boehner impression up here today. Members, the podium where I'm standing today is where I first announced my initial candidacy for the Oklahoma House of Representatives in 2002. And today is where I officially proclaim this has been 12 of the most amazing years of my life. I announced my intent to run on Sunday during the closing session of the Oklahoma Intercollegiate Legislature, a group that shaped my work ethic in the legislative process. You see, OIL is a nonpartisan organization, and it requires the members to work together to implement policies. I would ask that those of you here in the future remember to protect that organization, the YMCA Youth in Government Program, wherever Ralph is at, and the other student mock legislatures who use this chamber. They will be the future leaders of our state. My days at the Capitol started as a page for the State Senate, and that first developed my love for public service. It was here I saw men and women of all backgrounds working together for their constituents. It was my first real opportunity to see women and minorities in leadership positions, and that impacted me greatly at an early age as a kid from a small town. I owe this all to Senator Ray Giles, who gave me the opportunity to be a page through a 4-H program. I also owe another former member, Floor Leader Bert Larison, for establishing a President's Distinguished Scholarship at OSU, which gave me the opportunity to go to college. The days I spent at OSU were the period of my life that shaped my focus and direction in learning the legislative process and led me to join the OSU Student Senate and the aforementioned Oklahoma Intercollegiate Legislature. After 15 sessions in OIL, serving as the governor, the lieutenant governor, the president pro tem of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House, it was a guarantee that public service was the path I wanted to take in my life. The friends who also went into public service from OIL, Senator Rob Johnson, Representative Clay Pope, Commissioner John Smoligo, Senator Clark Jolly, Ryan Jackson, Chief of Staff for Senator Jim Inhofe, Fred Jordan, even Mark McCullough. This group shaped our lives. We have proven friendship and service come before party politics, and the work we do together for those we serve, and that started for us in college through this organization. I started in the mailroom on the staff for the House of Representatives right after college and began the relationship that would become like a second family with the people working here. Speaker Glenn Johnson suggested I apply for a job when I met him on the campaign trail in 1994. Susie Bradshaw took a chance on hiring me and gave me opportunities to learn the process from the inside while serving as a staff member downstairs, working for some of the greats like Jim Hamilton, Russ Roach, Darrell Gilbert, Larry Ferguson, Wayne Cozort, Democrats and Republicans alike, all serving their constituents. I also had the opportunity to develop friendships with those still around in some form or fashion, like Bill Case, Terry Ingmeyer, Tommy Thomas, Randy Butler, and Phil Ostrander. Others, like Kenneth Korn, who started as an intern here for the House of Representatives, and the other former staffers, like Richard and Anastasia, Colby and Jason, and Greg Treat, and the others, we have a unique perspective from the ground floor. I can vouch how invaluable that is for the experience on the job, and it helps us to do a better job to serve. The staff members with whom I've worked, many of whom are up in the gallery today, or they're listening over the speakers downstairs because y'all are keeping them too busy, they have been important to my life, and they've helped me along the way. I want to give special thanks to Sue Durr and Mark Tigert and Marcia Goff, our division directors downstairs. They make all of us look better, and they make our jobs much easier. We don't give enough thanks to our staff downstairs. I think we need to give them a round of applause. I have served with some fantastic staff colleagues over the years like Larry Warden, Joe Fox, Mark Kane, Greg Sawyer, Mike Fina, George Mosier, Doug Allen. Mike Ray doesn't seem to go away. He came back on us. And many others. But I'll never forget the ones that have gone too soon. Friends like Tammy Conley and Ann Stephan Kopko. And ranging from the ladies that are the operators downstairs in the basement to our chief clerk's office back here behind us and our sergeants to the legislative assistants on each floor of this building, we have a group that is bar none the best in the nation. My proudest accomplishment in my service as a staff member will be the mock legislature that I helped found that still allows our pages to learn the process. Pageville, to this day, is still the highest rated program each week for the pages. For those of you who are not aware of this program, they have the opportunity to author their own bills, amend and debate, and use our microphones and voting machines on Tuesdays. Many youngsters have developed a greater appreciation for our jobs through this, and that leads to better citizens and active voters. We need more of that in this world. I especially want to thank my own legislative assistants through the years for the work that they have done for the House district that I represent. Connie Riley, Kyla Rapp, and Peggy Johnston all worked for me for periods of time, but I've got to single out two special ones. Pat Paddleford, our Mother Superior as we call her. She was my adopted mom away from my own mom up here. She worked for my predecessor, Jim Glover, for 26 years, and then for another predecessor for a term before that, Tom Maynor from Apache, Oklahoma. Tom's daughter is up in the gallery today with her fifth graders from Apache, my constituents, and I want to be sure and welcome them to the Capitol today. So y'all stand up. I also cannot do this without Pam King, my current assistant. She shares my offbeat sense of humor and has been a perfect match for me to be able to get things done in the office and down here on the floor. Thank you for all the work you have done for me through the years. You have made my job so much easier. You and the other current assistants are the foundation for all that is accomplished for the representatives and senators who are serving Oklahomans who reach out to our offices for assistance. Now, all of you deserve a special round of applause also. How am I doing on time, Speaker? Good deal. Now on to the colleagues. I want to start off with my classmate sitting back there in the back, Rebecca Hamilton. Rebecca and I have the distinction, in my opinion, of having two freshman classes. You see, Rebecca served here in the legislature and left for a period of time, then came back in 2002. I can't thank you enough for being a friend and a colleague and a confidant when I've needed someone to talk to. And see, I feel like I had a second freshman class. So when I was elected in 1994, that freshman class took me under their wing because they knew someday I wanted to serve here in this chamber. The leaders like Jerry Askins, Debbie Blackburn, Bob Plunk, Abe Dutchendorf, Odelia Dank, Chris Hastings, Barbara Staggs, Joe Edens, Mike Irvin, and the others in that class, including Clay Pope, my best friend from college, who I had the pleasure of getting to serve 2 years with. They took me under the wing and they helped me grow as a person and as a future public servant. Then I had that other freshman class, starting off with Dan Boren. Now, Dan's not in office, so I can actually tell some stories about him. Dan was my first roommate in the legislature. And I was convinced I wouldn't get along with Dan. But Mike Thompson, a former member in here, introduced me to Dan, and we hit it off, and then we ended up being roommates our first term together. We would call Joe Blau and ask him if the bell was ringing and to keep the roll open as long as we could so we wouldn't miss the roll call in the beginning when we were running late. And try to get better about that, but I've been running late a little bit too much lately too. Danny Morgan, John Carey, Lucky Lammons, Bud Smithson, Terry Harrison, my old seatmate, Neil Brannon, Richard LeBlanc, Senator Judy Easton McIntyre, Senator Jerry Ellis, our expert on water who went over the other side, Don Arms, my neighbor down south, has been like a brother to me in some situations, and love his family to death. Mike Reynolds. Mike, it's going to be boring around here without you. Gus Blackwell. Gus, I appreciate it. I finally got to collect on that steak coming out to see you this last weekend. And we have an adopted member of our class, Dale DeWitt, came in on a special election. Dale, you've been a champion for rural Oklahoma, and you were a phenomenal leader here in the chamber for every single member across the party lines. Last but not least, Representative John Treblecock. John and I started in student government together at OSU. John was the president of student government the year after I was Senate chair, and we started our friendship back then. And during our first elections, we would call each other when we were having bad days and bounce things off each other. That goes to what I was talking about earlier with the spirit of bipartisanship and friendship. Things like that should matter more than party politics. But I want to thank some other members who are in here. Of course, I want to start off with our speaker, Jeff Hickman. Jeff has been a good champion for rural Oklahoma. Got to see him on Friday out in his district. You have lived up to all our expectations. I want to thank you for being a friend and a good leader for the House of Representatives and preserving the integrity of our institution and defending us. Leader Scott Inman, we had a lot of faith in you when we put you in as our leader, and you've lived up to every ounce of it. I want to thank you for the service for you and the Democratic caucus, your district, and the state of Oklahoma. I also want to thank all the other members of my caucus for always being there for me. Many of you were there when my dad died and came to his funeral, as well as many members across the aisle. That's the important things for those personal friendships in here. And the work that we do, we also have to measure that friendship and maintain that, and that's what separates us from Washington, D.C. Doctors Cox and Ritz, I can't think of two people probably more unalike, but love both you guys to death. You guys have been there every time I've had issues I need to talk to you about as far as medical concerns, about how we're going to vote on legislation. And even though you're both in the Republican Party, you've taken me under your wing, and you both have been fantastic to me. I can't thank you both enough. Jerry McPeak, my old office mate. Jerry got thrown into an office with me my freshman year, and couldn't have had a better office mate. I think we were good for each other. I think you taught me to be a little bit rowdy, and I always tried to answer your questions on the process, and you've been a great caucus chair for us. I also want to thank those guys that have been trapped around me, like David Derby, Steve Martin, Thad Balkman. You've had to put up with my sarcastic comments when it comes to some legislation, other things, and I've been surrounded by a lot of good people in this room. Mikey, where are you at? Mike Christian. You hiding? Lord help me, don't ever room with this guy on a trip. Mike and I got to go on a fire marshal trip to Washington, D.C. one year, and I made him do my ironing because he was a freshman. He paid me back, and I won't go into how he paid me back, but Mike has been a great friend up here. The freshman class as a whole up here this year, I want you to remember you're not separated by party. You're not separated by these aisles. Dustin Roberts, Sean Roberts, Mike Turner, Ken Walker, all of you have grown to be friends in some form or fashion. And I want you to remember that friendship when you're working together, because we're all in this together. Our constituents have set us up here together to do the people's work. And the only way we accomplish that is to build consensus. I want to single out another freshman in particular, Representative David Perryman. I started out as his driver on his congressional race in 1994, and a few years later, I actually got to be his mentor here in the legislature. So let that be a lesson to you. Always be nice to people. You never know where they're going to end up. Finally, I know there's a lot of people I need to recognize, but Representative Eric Proctor, you have by far grown to be my best friend in this chamber, and I can't thank you for being a friend all throughout the years. All the way back to when you were a high school page up here. I'm so proud of you and everything that you've accomplished in this building and in your life. And congratulations to you and Tara on your future bundle of joy. I'm so happy for y'all. I've had the opportunity to help implement policies that better the lives of Oklahomans through helping pass legislation and sometimes killing a few bad bills. Never, ever should the actions on this floor be taken personal or done in a spiteful manner, or with ill will directed towards your members. Nothing taken away from this chamber should diminish the work that we do in here, that we're representing our constituents. And when you leave this floor, you have to remember, again, just like in life, we're all in this together. We're here to represent our people back home. I hope my 12 years of service as a representative reflects that. The work I've done to help firefighters, educators, state employees, and countless other constituents will be the fondest memories and the greatest satisfaction I take away from the service as a state representative. Our constituents should always come first. I cannot thank the people of House District 65, those that live in Grady, Caddo, Comanche, Cotton, and Stevens counties enough for allowing me the amazing opportunity to serve them over these 12 years. I wish my dad could be here today. But I am happy that a lot of my family members are present up in the gallery. And if y'all would stand up, I want to be sure and recognize all of my family up there. I have a lot of friends up here. My pastor is up there. Michael, thank you for coming up here today as well. Thank you for listening to me when I need to vent about when things are going bad. And I'm sorry I missed church on Sunday. I also want to thank all my friends and family who are watching over the internet. That is a wonderful tool that was implemented a few years ago to allow our citizens to have the chance to see and hear everything that goes on in this building so they can be more informed. We need more of that openness and transparency to allow our citizens to understand what's going on in this building. A lifetime in public service is often derided by some, but it does provide an opportunity to help our fellow citizens when kept in the right perspective. When you look at the great leaders who have come before us, like George Nye, David Boren, Sam Rayburn, my personal inspiration, Henry Bellman, and the many others, we do not see enough statesmen stepping up to lead that change and be that change that we want to see in the world. We need leaders who will value principle above party. We have many men and women in this room, and in the rooms like this all over the country, who make personal sacrifices to improve the lives of those that they serve. I would ask that each of you who return to this institution next year remember that and place the needs of those you serve above your own. That is the commitment we make as public servants. This is not goodbye for me. As you all know, I will never be able to completely leave public service. I certainly hope that we will have the opportunities in the future to work closely together and improve the lives of all Oklahomans. Thank you for allowing me to work with you in this great institution. And God bless each and every one of you for your service and for being my friend. Thank you.